Well, hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're answering your questions about the Wainlux L6 10-watt laser engraver. Well, not too long ago here on the show, I brought you the introduction, assembly, and some testing of the Wainlux 10-watt engraver. And there were some questions in the comments section, and some, you know what, honestly, I couldn't answer them because I hadn't taken the testing that far. So as promised, that is what we're going to do on today's show. I'm going to take your questions, we're going to give this thing a whirl and see what it can do and see if I can provide you with some answers. So let's head over to the bench and let's get started. Well guys, for starters, I would just like to come on and say as a warning that there will be shots of the laser in action in the following segments, and if you are someone who is sensitive to that sort of thing, you may want to protect yourself in whatever way you need to. But there will be flashing type of lights in the next segments. Now guys, one of the questions that I was asked was, how thick can it cut? Now, Wainlux claims that it will cut 8 millimeters thick in one pass. 8 millimeters is 5/16 of an inch. So I have a 5/16 of an inch thick piece of maple, which may be an unfair test. It's a pretty dense wood. But I have it raised up above the board here so that I can see when it drops. I'm going to set the power at 100% at, we're going to say, 3 millimeters per second, and I'm going to cut a circle. I don't just want to cut straight through it. We're actually going to cut a shape and see how it works out. So let me try one pass, 3 millimeters per second at 100% power. Okay, and at one pass at that speed, it did not cut it. Let me try a second pass. Okay, so I'm going to place a piece of maple in here. We're going to line it up and see if we can't do this. I've actually changed the settings to 1 millimeter per second at 100% power. And let's just see if that cut through. It did not, but again, it's an unfair test. This is super hard maple. Let me get a different type of material because, of course, it doesn't state in their claim what type of material they use for these cuts, and I can tell you it's most likely not hard maple. All right, so I have a piece of 5/16 thick pine in here now, and I have it set for the same settings, 1 millimeter per second and 100% power. We'll just see if this cuts through. And it did. It cut right through it, no problems. Let me try it again with a different shape and see how we make out. So we'll place that back in there. We'll just frame it up quickly to make sure that everything is going to fit on there. Looks good. And we will start the cut. It will cut the circle out of the middle first and then kind of a weird hexagon around it. So let's see how that works out in one pass. Again, set at 1 millimeter per second and 100% power with 5/16 of an inch or 8 millimeter thick pine. And we'll just reach in and see how we made out. And there is our shapes cut. Again, one pass, not a problem. It's very smooth on the edges, a really nice cut. Okay, so you know what, let's see if we can go a little thicker. So essentially here I have the same setup. The only difference is that I have a 3/4 inch thick piece of pine in there. Maybe a little bit unfair, but I'm going to try to do it at 5 passes with the exact same design that we just did, and let's just see what happens. Alright, and how do we make out? Well, we've got a little bit of burning on the bottom half, but it's almost all the way through, and that is with 5 passes. But again, it's pretty darn charred on the inside, but that's okay. This was an unfair test. It never claims that it can do 3/4. I just wanted to see if it would, and all it did was really char up the inside. You can see it where it was blowing out the side here, but it was a fun test. Either way, guys, so it looks like 5/16 is what it will cut with no issues in one pass. All right, so another question that was asked was the difference between air assist and not. So what I've done is I'm going to cut those same labels that I did on the introduction show to demonstrate for you. I have a piece of maple here, 1/8 of an inch thick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 2 tags, 2 of those label tags that I demonstrated before. And the first one will be with the air assist. I will have it turned on, and just before it gets over to cut the second one, I'm going to shut the air assist off and just let it burn without it. And we'll compare the 2 tags, and I can show you exactly the difference between the 2. Okay, and we'll just have a look at the difference between the 2 here. Well, for starters, we can see all kinds of charring around this tag. If we look at it, look at the dark edges around here. Now, this wasn't really an extensive burn with the letters, but you can see here at the edge of the tag, we have all kinds of dark charring that's happening, whereas the one that has the air assist is nice and clean all the way around. There is no extra charring, and you can see that charring right here along this edge and along the bottom edge here. It's not as clean of a cut, not by any means. So the air assist does help. This isn't really a fair test because it's not a very extensive burn. It's a very quick one. But if this were a more extensive burn, the difference would be night and day. And you can really see the difference when you look at the areas that were cut, the amount of burning that is around the outer edges of each one of these tags, with the air assist one being much cleaner and much less overburn than what there is without the air assist. So I think I'd like to give this another test to give it something a little more substantial to be burning instead of just this little bit here. So what I'm going to do is a more extensive burn, and then I'll show you the difference between the 2. I don't think I'm going to film it because it'll just take way too long. And we'll just have a look at these 2 engravings. We can see that one is very crisp, very clean. The image in between here on this classic Jeep grill, it's all uniform color, whereas here we've got all kinds of scorching along the bottom in between the fingers. The Jeep grill is muddy. I'm pretty sure you can figure this one out. This one is without the air assist, and this one here, the cleaner burn, is with the air assist. So the air assist makes a huge difference to giving a nice clean result. What it also does is it blows any of that soot out of the laser's nozzle and keeps it from building up on your lens. You do not want that soot building up on your lens. It will cause you problems like there is no tomorrow. So Air assist is the way to go, guys. And luckily, in this case, with the Wainlux L6, it comes equipped with the air assist pump. All right, so one of the other questions I got asked was whether or not you could use the Wainlux L6 to engrave shop-turned pens or pencils. So I have one of my own turned pencils here. I believe this is Purple Heart, and the important part here is to make sure that that pencil or pen does not move. I don't know the settings. I don't have test material, so I'm taking a chance by engraving this. So I'm only doing this as a light pass for now. I am going to engrave this only at 20% power and 120 millimeters per second. That may or may not leave a mark on this pen. We're going to find out. I just don't want to burn through the wood. So I'm going to try it at one pass and see how it looks without moving anything, and then we may try a second pass. All right, you know what? I can see here that it is a very light engraving. I'm going to do the exact same thing, but on a second pass at the same power, 20% at the 120 millimeters per second, and we'll just see how we make out. All right. Let me just kill some of these fans here so I'm not talking over them. And I just want to show you this. We'll take it out of our... I've just used some clear tape here to tape it in place so that it wouldn't move. But look at those results. Can you see that? That is absolutely beautiful. That looks fantastic. I love it. So, in answer to the question, can it engrave a hand-turned pen? 100%, yes it can. And this was done 2 passes, 120 millimeters per second at 20% power. So there you go, and it's just a beautiful engraving. All right, so the last question that I received about this was whether or not it could engrave stainless steel. So I have an old Swiss Army knife here. I've got it taped down so it doesn't move, and I'm going to attempt to engrave my initials in the blade. However, you cannot just engrave stainless steel by itself. The reason for that is that it's reflective and the laser kind of bounces off of it and really doesn't know what to do. So you need to use some kind of carrier agent. And believe it or not, one of the best things I've found for engraving steel is this graphite extreme quick dry graphite lubricant. So it's a flat black, it dries quickly. I'm going to give the knife a good coating of this, and then we're going to try to engrave my initials. All right, so I have the knife coated, and we'll just frame it up and see how we make out. Well, I hope that that worked, because as it homed back to its corner, I saw that it bumped the knife. So let me just wipe this off and let's see our results. The best way to get this stuff off, by the way, is a little bit of acetone, the same stuff that you remove nail polish with. Now, I don't know if you can see this very well because of the reflection, but there is my initials now in this knife. And you could feel that with your fingernails. That's not going anywhere. I'm not so much sure that it's an engraving or an etching, but Either way, it is in there, and it is in there solidly. So can you engrave or add things like initials or embellishments on things like a stainless steel knife? You sure as heck can, guys. This was 10 millimeters per second. It was 100% power, and I made 10 passes to get that there, and that is super, super clean, super crisp, and it looks absolutely fantastic. And there you have it. Answering your questions on the Wainlux L6 10-watt laser engraver. Guys, every single project that I have made with this engraver so far has been a complete success. Now, I'm not going to say it was a success immediately. There is a learning curve, just like anything new. So this one acts a lot different than, say, other powered lasers that I might have had experience with. So you really have to get involved and do testing, and you really have to play around. Engraving those pens today, there was no testing done because I had nothing to test on other than one of my turned pens. So that was a little nerve-wracking to do that. I wasn't quite sure what to expect, and I was a little worried that I was going to blow through the thin wood and then down to the brass insert. But fortunately, by using that low power, I was able to get a really nice burn of a cut above woodworkings on there. Now, truth be told, I did put the pen in there and I made 3 passes and I got an even nicer burn, but I'm not sure how much more I'd want to push that. That is a really thin layer of wood that's on there by the time you finish turning these little slimline pens. So you really want to be careful with your power levels, but don't be afraid to experiment. Now, as far as the knife goes, for starters, it was an old knife. Second of all, I've already done a knife, but I did it with a different laser, so I wasn't sure if the Wainlux was going to be able to handle it or how it would handle it or what the results would be. So that's all in the experimenting, but again, the results were fantastic. The engraving looks great. It is so clean. It's not even funny how clean it is. It's just beautiful. Now, the air assist. There is such a night and day difference between using air assist and not. On some materials, it's not as evident as others, but on some materials that you engrave, not using air assist just looks horrible. But add the air assist and the results are like, wow, so crisp and so clean. So air assist goes a long way to both keeping your engravings clean, preventing overburn, and of course, keeping your lens clean so that your laser isn't etching it. Because what can happen if your glass lens on your laser gets dirty, the laser will blast into that dirt and etch your glass. We've seen it when I tested the K6, how something on the back of that lens, in this case I used foam core, but we were able to use the K6 and engrave glass with a butterfly. No carrier agent on it. Well, imagine that your lens is covered in soot. Well, what's going to happen? That laser is going to engrave that lens, and you really don't want that happening. So keep your lens clean, and one of the ways that you can do that and really help keep it clean is by using an air assist on a regular basis. Now, of course, the thickness tests, guys. They claim 8 millimeters, and it cut the 8 millimeters or 5/16 without a problem. Cutting hard maple is not really something that you would do on a diode laser cutter, especially the thickness that I tried. But when I switched over to pine, which is a softer wood, it had absolutely no problems cutting that 8 millimeter, and I am positive that if you were to use multiple passes, you could cut thicker. 1/2 inch? I think so. 3/4 was kind of pushing it, and it's really not a fair test to the Wainlux, but I really wanted to see if it would do it, and all I got was a charred mess. It was spectacular. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week. I want to thank Wainlux for sending this L6 laser for me to do the testing. I've had a lot of fun with this and continue to have fun with it, and I hope that you guys are enjoying my little journey with this L6 laser as well. Guys, there will be a link down below. If you're interested in the L6, there will be a link to get it down below, as well as a promotion code for you to get an additional amount off. So make sure you check that out. It's money in your pocket, guys. You got nothing to lose by checking out the code and getting an extra discount through there. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. You click that bell and then you're not going to miss future notifications of the program. Guys, if you have any more questions about the Wainlux laser, please drop them down below. I'm going to do my best to answer them for you. I hope you've enjoyed today's content, guys. I hope you're going to try one of these lasers and give it a whirl and add that extra dimension to your projects. And more importantly, I hope you're going to join me again next week when I bring you yet another Alternative Tuesdays.